we're going to assume in this economy there's only one manufacturer, which is a bakery. Okay, we are going to start at equilibrium. Okay, full employment. Colleagues, do you remember what full employment means?
That is when you acquire all the factors of production and utilize them efficiently.
Wonderful, yes. When you acquire all factors of production, you get all the land you can get, all the capital, all the labor. Can you also say all the entrepreneurship? Okay. And you utilize these factors of production efficiently. So for this bakery, we assume it's got 10 workers, so this is the amount they can, all the labor they can acquire so far. Obviously the ovens that they have, these are all, maybe they've got 5 ovens. Alright. They've got maybe 2 factories, that's all the land they can acquire. Alright. So once they utilize all these factors of production, they're able to produce 1,000 loaves. Okay, so here in our aggregate demand, aggregate supply curve, okay, 1,000 loaves. And let's see, each loaf is selling for 20 kwacha here. 20 kwacha below, right? Yes. So first we're going to see the start of the recession, then we're also going to look at an economic boom. Okay. Once we see this, both of these sides, we're going to be able to understand how this graph operates. Okay. So now let's say a recession hits. The economy is doing bad. Alright? People lose jobs. Alright? People are not working anymore. Okay? People lose jobs. Customers now have less money. Okay, so how is that going to affect our bread? This factory, it means customers are going to be buying less bread. Okay, why? Because there's no money within the economy. Okay, so few people are affording to buy the bread. Okay. So bread demand falls from 1,000 loaves to 600 loaves. This is where we say the aggregate demand curve has shifted. Remember, shifters of aggregate demand, consumer spending. Consumer spending goes up, the aggregate demand increases. If consumer spending goes down, the aggregate demand decreases. So we have a shift in our aggregate demand curve. This is AD1. Now we are on AD2. So, colleagues, if you are this baker and you have seen people are spending less and they are demanding less, are you going to produce more bread or are you going to produce less bread?
Less bread.
You're going to produce less bread because if you produce those 1,000 loaves, if you have seen demand has dropped to 600. Now if you continue producing those 1,000 loaves, they'll just remain and they might get damaged. I'm just going to be updating these graphs. Okay. So from 1,000 loaves, demand has dropped to 600 loaves. Now colleagues, you are the bakery again. Since you're producing less bread, are you going to keep all the workers there, or 10 workers? What would you do with your workers?
You lay off some.
They're going to lay off some. Remember, in the short run.
Hello?
Yes.
To strike the balance, you reduce on the workers. Because the wages are wages expenses are a cost.
Yes. Yes. And since we're still in the short run, okay, remember wages are fixed. So you can't tell your workers right now that we're going to reduce your wages. No. The only thing you can do here is you're going to lay off your workers. Okay? So what happens? The unemployment level now in the economy has increased. Okay? Demand has dropped, so our production has dropped, and so also our workforce has also dropped. So we're producing less. Okay? And what do you think will happen to your price of bread? Are you still going to be charging it at a high price, or are you going to charge it at a low price? Knowing that there's high unemployment and people have got less money. Yes, Madam Betha, you're the owner of this bakery, you're now producing less, you've laid off some workers. Okay, now on your pricing of your bread, what are you going to do to the price of the bread?
Aren't you going to increase it?
Madam, when there's high unemployment and there's less money.
No, but because you're looking at what about the cost of production?
By laying off workers, you lay off workers to a point where at least you know that you can minimize your costs.
And maybe at an affordable price.
You will lower the bread to an affordable price so that the people, since there's low income within the economy, you have to lower the price. Okay? When you laid off your workers, a managerial economist, the economist who works in your business, is going to tell you, okay, lay off the workers so that your labor costs reach a certain range. Okay, and then also lower the price. You will still remain profitable, but you're going to be making less profits because it's a recession. Okay, it is a recession. Any questions so far? That's where the short run ends now. We're about to enter into the long run now. Any questions before we enter the long run?
You were breaking, sir. Can you come again on what you just explained?
Since there is a recession, you're producing less and you've laid off workers, so the price of your good, you're going to lower it so that people can still afford to buy it. Okay. So that people can still be able to buy it. Is that okay, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Now we've reached the long run. We assume everyone's contract is up. Okay, everyone's contract is up within your business. Okay. Now, theoretically, what are you going to do to the wages? Are you going to increase the wages, or are you going to drop the wages? We've reached now the long run. Employment contracts are up now. You're now making new contracts. Now on that salary, it's either you drop the salary or increase the salary. Colleagues, what would you do theoretically? Remember, this is theoretical. Okay? In the real world, no one is going to. If they lower your wages, means there was a really bad decision. Okay? But it's illegal to lower wages. But yes, colleagues, what do you think will happen now to the wages? Since we've reached the long run, and now they are flexible. And you know there are desperate people who are unemployed who are going to accept lower wages. You go to the workers who you've retained and you tell them, workers, the contracts are up, so now we're making an adjustment on the salaries. Okay. Yes, Professor, I'm waiting for your answers, colleagues. Yes, what would you do as a bakery manager? Yes, Madam Yvonne. Mr. Kaswano?
Sir, I missed the question, I think.
Me too.
We've reached the long run. Wages are no longer fixed. They are flexible now. What are you going to do to the wages? Are you going to increase them or are you going to lower them?
You increase them.
No, lower them, sir. It's not fixed. I lower them, then the person either accepts or rejects.
Yes, you lower the wages. Okay, if the person rejects, remember there's high unemployment, so you have 30 people knocking at your door. Okay, you have more than 30 people, hundreds of people knocking at your door. Okay, so you will try to lower wages. Okay. Yes. So wages now fall down. Okay. Wages have fallen down. Now, since
Just a minute, sir. Just a minute. As an employer, do you have do you dictate as to when to increase or to lower the prices? Looking at, you also have you have to consider the production cost, because you also import elsewhere or buy elsewhere to cater for your production.
just say that again, sir.
I'm saying, do you dictate when to lower the wages?
Yes,
And when to increase? You have to factor in also, you have also where you are buying for production.
or raw materials, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So do you have the power to dictate for yes, yeah, I'm sure I understand what I mean.
Yes. So lowering wages will even help you at least be able to buy those raw materials, because you're trying to lower costs. You've got two costs, raw materials and wages. So you would say, okay, let me lower the wages, okay, so that at least you can have some money to buy these raw materials. You can't control the price of raw materials, so that one. There's nothing you can do on the raw materials. So you just reduce wages so that you can lower your production costs. Okay. So remember, initially when we started this example, we said wages were at 2,000. Okay. Now wages are fallen from 2,000 to 1,000 kwacha. Okay. So let us look at how this affects the labor cost. Okay. At first, when workers were earning 2,000 and you had 10 workers, your labor cost was 20,000. Okay. Now, at a wage of 1,000, okay, if you keep all 10 workers, your labor cost halves from 20,000 to 10,000. Okay. So when wages fall, this can even give you room to bring in unemployed workers also. Okay. Remember, we said we dropped our workers down to 6 and the recession hit. What, 10? Then we laid off 4, so remained with 6. Now wages have dropped, they have halved. Okay. So it means we can even hire new workers. Okay. Because our production costs have dropped. Okay. And due to this lower production cost, you can produce more bread. Okay. So this is why the SRS curve, the short run aggregate supply curve, now shifts, taking you back to the long run, where at equilibrium he. Okay. Lower production costs, now you can produce more bread. Okay. And you can produce it even at a cheaper price. Okay. So as you hire these new workers, according to Say's law, once you bump up supply, eventually supply is going to attract demand. Any questions?
Samuel,
Yes.
kindly just repeat yourself on the explanation. I was distracted.
When wages fall, production costs drop. And when production costs drop, you can produce more. So that is going to cause the short run aggregate supply curve to shift to the right. Okay. First demand shifted, as you can see from this blue one, it shifted here. Then now aggregate supply, short run aggregate supply shifts, which brings us back to equilibrium, full employment. And you can sell bread at a cheaper price. Any questions, colleagues?
So I said that you said that when the wages drop, the production cost also drops, which in the end ends up to increase the supply, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Is this I know you've explained. This is in the real sense, right?
Yes, in the classical theory sense.
Okay, so we're dealing with classical here.
Yes, was you back at classic.
Okay. So,
So any questions now? We now look at now when the economy hits a boom, the economy is booming. How it's going to self-correct itself. So just remember this sequence, okay, colleagues? Recession occurs, aggregate demand drops, unemployment increases, eventually wages fall, production costs will also fall as wages fall, and then you can produce more cheaply. Theoretical. All this is theory. In real life, when a recession occurs, government has to intervene and the central bank. So we're going to start at equilibrium again. Full employment. Okay. So we're back at full employment, still producing 1,000 loaves of bread. Okay. We've got all the capital we need, all the workers, 10 workers. Alright. Yes. Now the economy booms. Alright. People have more money. Alright. Their income increases. They start spending more. This is going to cause aggregate demand to shift to the right like this. Okay. As we said, shifters of aggregate demand, consumer spending. Okay, so if consumer spending increases, aggregate demand increases. All right. So, colleagues, in the short run, okay, wages are fixed, and you have seen demand has increased as a baker. What are you going to do?
You supply more.
You supply more. You're going to produce more loaves of bread, right? Because at this point here, wages are fixed. So you can easily increase the price. Okay, and you as a company will be enjoying those benefits because your labor cost is fixed. This is in the short run again. Right? We're in the short run, wages are fixed. Okay. We produce more loaves of bread. Okay. So as aggregate demand, let's say it increases from 1,000 loaves to 1,200 loaves. You might even now outsource more workers. Okay? You outsource more workers. Though at full employment, there are very few workers out there, because remember, unemployment rate is 4 to 6%. So you can outsource few workers. Okay, remember, the wages cost is fixed, so you just know that, okay, I can add 2 more workers, but I will increase the price where I'm still remaining profitable. Okay. Yes. So as aggregate demand increases, you as a business, you want to produce more, because that's going to be profitable for you, so you start producing more. All right. Now, colleagues, what happens if aggregate demand continues increasing and you've reached your maximum? You had 10 workers, you now outsourced 2 workers. Okay. Now there are no more workers to outsource, and aggregate demand is still increasing. What are you going to do as the bakery? Will you try to keep on producing more to chase that demand when all your resources now are fully constrained? Would you try to produce more?
For me, Mr. Mob, I can increase the price of bread.
Yes. You just continue. If the aggregate demand continues, you continue increasing the price. Okay, but you can't do that for so long, Madam Sophia. Okay, you can't do that for so long, because when you reach the long run, okay, when you reach the long run, then our wages have become flexible. And since the workers have seen, you have increased the price of the bread there. So I was going to tell you, even us, increase our wages. So what happens now also? Wages cost starts to increase. And if you want to continue producing more, it means those workers, the last workers you have, it means you have to now giving them overtime so that they can try to keep up with production. But eventually you cannot keep up with growing demand like that. You reach a saturation point where you cannot go further. Okay, you cannot go further in terms of production. Okay, and increasing the price level. Okay, so when aggregate demand increases, okay, first you're going to bump up production because wages are still fixed. So you bump up production, try to outsource more workers if you can. But then eventually the long run is going to hit, and the wages are going to become flexible. And it means these wages are going to rise. Because the company is doing well, they can't tell you that we're going to reduce your wages. We are not in a recession here. So your boss can't tell you that, no, we're going to try to reduce your wages, no. Okay. So eventually this wages cost is going to keep up with the business, so that the business cannot produce to satisfy the growing demand. Okay. It will become now too expensive, because now to hire more workers to produce more is going to be more costly for you. Okay. So due to these higher wages costs, right, and your restrained capacity, this short run aggregate supply curve is going to shift like this. You cannot keep up with the demand. Those extra workers' wages have increased, they are now expensive. Those 2 extra workers that you got, long run has come, the wages have increased, now that it's now expensive having those extra 2 workers. Okay, your resources are strained. Okay, so what eventually happens? You just tell those extra 2 workers, okay, it was nice having you. You cut them down, okay. You lower back your production, okay. Back to the long run. Back to full employment. Now, since wages have risen, so when you get back at full employment, your good will be expensive still.